All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Limebold Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan for episode 287 from beautiful Indiana, none other than Jimmy Dulin. Jimmy, it's an honor and a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, gosh. And again, the honor is all mine on my side. I can't wait to dive into the series of questions, the audience and the Titan Nation, really to get to know you as a man, as a professional, and what brought you here to today and where you're going into the future, Jimmy. So without further ado, let's start with the first question, which is really the origin story. Who are you? Where do you come from? What got you into the business? And kind of what your life progression is up until today. Let's start there.
All right. Who am I? I am a father. I am a husband. I have two beautiful children. I have a wife of 26 years and 29, almost 29 years together. And I've been in real estate for 35 years. The path started, I was in community college in Miami, Florida.
Wow.
And I raised my hand after I had read a book over the weekend, and this is not intended to be political because it just happens to be a book written by a former president who's running for president again.
Sure.
I read The Art of the Deal.
Love it.
And it was actually the first time in my entire life I sat down and read a book cover to cover. And I went to Dr. It was either Feinstein or Feynman, one of those two. He was my professor of American history. Wow. And I raised my hand in the middle of the class and I said, I quit. I'm moving back to Indiana, getting in real estate.
Wow.
And he literally closed his book and told the class, close everything. We're going to talk about how, I went by James at the time, how James is getting ready to screw up his life.
Wow. Unbelievable. And again, when you're basing it off of that too, Jimmy, it's fascinating. The Art of the Deal. I have that book somewhere here. My screen's too small. It's on this shelf. I know it. So in that particular, sediment to dropping out of the situation that you're in and shifting and changing based off of the words in that book. So powerful. What was going through your mind? Why? What really leapt out at you to say, hey, I'm changing directions? What was it, from Florida back to Indiana?
It could be as simple as reading my first book. I don't know, but no, honestly, what inspired me was just the idea when I read that book. What I got from it and what I walked away with is that I had the ability to create my own destiny within the industry of real estate, and that was it. It was I defined myself as unemployable, and so that, of course, I probably didn't back then, but it was just really that the opportunity was mine. When I go back into academics and high school, I was a guy. So I mean, look, we'll give you some good humor here.
Yeah.
I lived alone my senior year in high school. My best friend and I had a house. We lived alone. It was about 600 square feet. It was just the two of us. My mother was in Pennsylvania. My father was here in Indiana, and my buddy's mom was in Florida. Okay. We made fake hall passes to make money. So we sold hall passes.
I love it.
In school, in the regular classrooms, I was barely getting by. Just way below mediocre student. Of course, there was that much effort going into it as well. But in the business center, it was called the J. Everett Light Career Center. I was a star student. You walk into entrepreneurship class, you walk into any of the business-oriented classes, and I was a star student. Wow. I went off to Dallas, Texas to represent my school in Business Professionals of America and ended up getting 13th in the nation, the highest recognition my school ever got. Came home, they got the award, I got expelled. My fake hall pass business had unraveled while I was out of town.
Oh, no.
So that just kind of gives you the background of me. I went to 6 high schools in 4 years. I lived all over the country and a retail brat. And so change has always been a part of my life. It's never been something I'm scared of. And but yeah, it was just, I read that book, and when you tell me that there's no boundaries, that those boundaries are only my boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
then I know opportunity exists, because I'm not going to put boundaries on myself.
Wow. And being able to identify that though, Jimmy, at a young age, that's fascinating to me. And again, having so many conversations with incredible individuals such as yourself, and really kind of getting the origin story and what really sparked that flame to really go down the road. Yours is incredible. I love the hall passes. And again, any entrepreneur is going to put themselves right into that shoes and say, I love it. I got it. I know what he's doing there. That was so good. And you know, not everybody is putting themselves in a position to understand what the entrepreneurial lifestyle is and the efforts that are afforded that way. That's the reason why there's more people that are conforming to typical molds into what is success and how you go down the steps and road of life. And that's okay. If we were all the same, it'd be boring. And I love the fact that you're doing what you're doing that way. So going from Florida back to Indiana, what was your journey in real estate like? What take us from the beginning, kind of, you know, and then progressing forward.
Started in September of 1991 with with Century 21,
Okay.
and I was there 6 months. I became the listing leader, if you will, shortly thereafter, because I was out hitting the areas, the fringe areas that nobody else was hitting. So I was trying to give people that were in lower income areas the opportunity to have high quality service that they weren't accustomed to. And
Wow.
it ended up providing an opportunity. I also door knocked, called, you name it. I was hitting the streets. 6 months in or so, my title rep happened. As crazy as this is, I'm at the bottom. My title rep happened to also do title work for the number one agent in the city of Indianapolis, and he was, at that time, it was a Remax agent.
Wow.
And so she had told him about me, and he said, "Hey, I want to meet him." She took me to a St. Patrick's Day party.
Okay.
I met him. He said, "I want you to join my team." Not specifically his team, but his company.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Well, I've heard about Remax. I can't afford it." And he said, "Don't worry, you can afford it. We'll make it all happen."
Hmm.
I was at Remax and then spent 33 years there. So so that introduction lasted 33 years.
But when you talk about that, going from, you know, Century 21 to Remax, and this is, you know, my personal perspective and opinion, um, was branding associated with it, or was it more that individual that really got you excited about it?
So, well, the individual got me excited about Remax. The reputation, we're talking about spring of 1992. The reputation of Remax got me excited.
Sure.
So there was a combination of the number one agent spending time talking to me, telling me that he would pour into me. And then there was just the notion at that time, Remax had only been in Indiana since '88. So we're only 4 years in.
Yep.
I was literally the only rookie in
Mm.
the entire system. And let me tell you, the top brass of Remax at that time in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the conventions and things, they were not happy that they let a 6-month-old kid, 6 month in the industry kid into the business and let him join Remax.
Oh, wow.
But I went through the normal courses. I was an agent from 91, started a team in about 1995.
Mhm.
Became a part owner in a firm, a 10% minority share
Wow.
in a firm with about 7 or 8 other agents. That firm, I was at the convention, and that firm was seized by the real department of, I don't know. It was taken for escrow. The person that owned the majority share had embezzled some escrow money.
Oof.
So that company was taken away.
Mm.
I lost my investment. I then joined a brokerage, and at that point in time, my career was doing well. I was a beginning 15, 20, $25 million producer.
Sure.
The opportunity presented itself to become a partner. I
Wow.
went back to my high school days of entrepreneurship and Mrs. White, and she said, "Don't ever be 50-50 partners if you can't afford the fight."
Ooh.
So I went to the owner, who asked me if I wanted to be his partner, and said, "How about we do 3 of us?"
Mm.
That way there's not a 50-50 fight because he had more money than I did.
Ah, wow.
Um, became a broker owner
Mm.
in March of 1990. So my son was born in June of 99. Became a
Okay.
partner in June of 99. Put my
Unreal.
first merger together and with another firm and merged in August of 99. Bought two partners out in 2001
Oof.
and bought the remaining partners out in 2008, became the sole owner and began my individual journey, kind of
Okay.
where I really grew and changed from March of 2008, which was a great time because real estate was a boom. The economy was a boom. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Wasn't necessarily the greatest timing, but you know what? It worked out exactly the way it needed to work out for Jimmy Dulin at that time.
Mm. What was your thought initially as you were going down that journey and you were buying partners out? What was your overall intent by doing that?
So here's what I learned in I went from being three partners to the merger becoming five partners, back down to three partners, then being sole.
Yep.
What I learned in that is there are certain there are certain requirements to grow and run a real estate company.
Mhm.
And not everybody wants to do them, but everybody wants to participate in the distribution of profit.
Of course.
So
Right.
there are some elements of that job that are not near as desirable,
Mhm.
but everybody had the same desire to share profit. So
Wow.
I would get frustrated. I would then, and basically it's recruiting, right?
Mhm.
If you own a real estate company and you're not growing the company, you're shrinking. So
Mhm.
I would get motivated. I would do it. Then I would get frustrated. I wouldn't do it. Motivated, do it. Frustrated, not do it.
Sure.
Um, so my desire to purchase my partners out was to take what I believed were my skills at growing and building relationships and put it into action. And that's why I did it.
Yeah, no, I'm always curious as to why the Titans make the decisions that they do and kind of backward and forward to say, hey, what was leading Jimmy to do this? What was his thought? And what's he looking into the future? Because it tends to be these decisions kind of lead breadcrumbs for success for others that are tuning in, and they might be in this situation that you might be or be contemplating these thoughts and said, hey, what did Jimmy do? And I think that this is an important reflection. As far as Remax in its entirety, I know it very well. So does the audience out there too. And again, when you're talking about, early 90s, massive disruption into the business. I mean, Remax was so disruptive in a positive. And you've seen so much change over that time frame, Jimmy. So let's talk about further down the road with Remax and then obviously making another change or shift to where you are today. I would love to get that for sure.
So March of 2008, I close on buying. We owned we had two locations. We
Okay.
owned one building. I bought the one building. I paid cash for the business.
Mm.
And I was sitting at a football game, watching a high school football game on the grass hill, and my phone got a text alert, and it said, "Breaking news: Irwin Union Bank seized by the FDIC, first bank in Indiana history." I
Oh,
looked at my wife and I said, "This isn't good, baby." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because that's where our line of credit was supposed to come from to run the new business that we just bought."
oh
And
wow.
what I didn't tell you is that my son was born.
Hmm.
So it was, I had all of this change, buying the business, new house, all these changes going on, not working because she was being a mother and
Yeah.
taking that job on.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of change. So we went into it with the idea that we take our capital, we'll buy the business, we got a loan to buy the building, and then we'll have a line of credit operating. And that line of credit never came. So we started out bootstrapping a 32 agent office in a tired, nasty 70s building. It could have easily been an office building from a Magnum PI episode.
Oh, nice.
This was 70s, 80s, ugly. And I won't tell you the many nights in there just working and painting and doing what it took, but I'll tell you what it ultimately did. It put me in a position to not take anything for granted because we had no resources. So 2008 to 2016 ended up being like one of the greatest periods of my life. That 32 agent firm grew to 240 some agents. We grew from 30 million in sales to $1 billion in sales, and
Unreal.
the 14th largest Remax in the entire system.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was an amazing time. But I think more importantly, it was my professional growth time.
Mm-hmm.
I was pinned up against the corner,
Wow.
and my choices were, go do what it takes,
Mm-hmm.
or fall apart, and you will just be nothing. You'll just be a memory, right? Oh, I remember that guy. He had an office, but he didn't last long. Like that was my two choices.
Right. Right. Well,
So
the fact that you did that though, Jimmy, and again, I love that you're bracketing that time from 8 to 16 as saying some of the best time. And for a lot of real estate professionals, it was horrible. And again, looking at it from that perspective, it's a mindset. It's an opportunity for you to seize a moment, an opportunity when your back's against the wall or pushed into a corner. And I think that's where real character is formed, and you kind of show up in a way or you don't. And obviously you did, which is incredible to look at it from those numbers and that time frame. What do you equate that success to in that period of time? Was there something that you look back and say, because I did this or this, I was able to not only, survive, but thrive where so many others were just failing left and right? Anything that comes to mind?
absolutely, 100%. It wasn't a lot of things, to be quite frank with you. There were a couple very, very key things. At the time, like every real estate office, you had one or two people that would come in and go to the mailbox and check their mail.
Sure.
And you might have somebody that would walk in and get a cup of coffee. And you might have, somebody at the front desk talking to the receptionist. You just didn't have many people inside of a real estate office at that time.
Yeah.
So I came up with the concept of tearing down the walls and moving everything into the center of the office. So back then we had home agent space,
Hmm.
right? If you worked from home, you weren't paying to rent a desk. We would give you like a little countertop in a hallway where you could plop your laptop down. So I
Sure.
took all the space and moved it to the center, called it a cafe,
Hmm.
and I went to the Remax broker owner convention in Niagara Falls. My wife and my two children piled into a Mini Cooper and drove from Indianapolis, Indiana to Niagara Falls to a convention because honestly, I had to get away. I was scared to death. My world was crumbling,
Wow.
and I needed to learn, and I needed to share, and I needed to grow.
Mm.
And I went there, and I found that there was a room full of other people scared to death.
Mm.
But I told them what I had done and that I created this cafe and how it was working so well. And overnight, the energy around this concept, it became promoted. I was interviewed by, Real Trends, by Swanepoel. It was in Swanepoel's trend report. One lady had Harvard University do a study on this whole real estate cafe thing, and it all came from this guy here in Indianapolis or Carmel, Indiana.
Wow.
But it was that space
Hmm.
which created a synergy, and
Wow.
it created an opportunity for affiliates and agents to coexist and work together in a communal space.
Mm.
And then the last piece was leadership.
Mm.
Agents, as the broker owner, you were the leader whether you led or not.
Mm.
So I chose to be the leader.
Mm.
I chose to learn. I chose to research. I chose to find opportunities, and I chose to motivate people to those opportunities. And that was the difference from 2008 to 16, when other people were scared and had their head in the sand. I was talking from the rooftops, telling people how big this brokerage was going to be and the success it was going to have. I implemented a mission statement, and we lived by that mission statement. We still live by that mission statement some 16 years later. And it became and embodied who we were as an organization and what we were going to do. And people began to believe in the dream of where I was going and what this company was going to be. And they wanted to get on that bus and be a part of it.
And you can't help but really feel that energy and the passion as you're going through this journey with us right now, Jimmy, which is incredible. I mean, you taking it upon yourself to reshape and rework what is a typical formula of success, right? And then do something and flip it on its head, is incredible. But that's showcasing you being involved and in tune to what the needs are of the individuals that entrusted you to guide and lead them to great success into their lives and their careers, and doing it on a consistent basis, because it's easy for somebody to make adjustments and then have a quick flash in the pan. But for you to be able to grow consistently and do that takes innovation, takes characteristics that are into that stick to itiveness and tenacity that I love. And I know that a lot of other Titans who have been featured on the show, that there's so much of that similarity too. And just that real adjustment is massive. You painted a beautiful picture going to Niagara Falls, and I just think about piling into a Mini Cooper with the fam. I have two littles, myself, a boy and a girl, and I could just imagine taking that trip. Why a Mini Cooper? Was that something that was in the fleet currently, or was that a rental? Like, what was that? Just
It
curious.
wasn't, it was actually our courier vehicle that drove and delivered things between our offices. But I was so broke that that
Wow,
was the best gas mileage car I had. So we piled in there, put everything on the roof rack, and away I mean, we look like the Beverly Hillbillies.
I love it.
And but you know what? I came out of there so energized and excited about my opportunity as opposed to the challenges. Because I mean, I'm telling you, when I say broke, I was absolutely pressed up against the line in 2008, 9, 10. And
Wow.
then but then you began to feel momentum and change. I remember Real Trends.
Mhm.
I love Steve Murray. And
Yeah.
when I was featured on a Real Trends, their magazine, on the cover of it, and it said from 2010 to 2014, I was the fourth fastest growing real estate company out of 88,000 companies in the United States. And I just remember, it was like a relief, like, okay, so we really did do something pretty amazing. And our agents and our staff and my family and the people around me, we felt the amazingness that was going on. We felt it. We enjoyed it. I would never trade that all that the lessons and the challenges, and
Mhm.
wouldn't trade any of it for the world.
And but sharing that story with everybody, and I can't thank you enough, because it really puts perspective onto life. So many people, whatever they're going through in the current situation, whether it's personal or professional, it can seem like the worst thing you've ever felt. But looking back on certain times and taking it from a positive instead of a negative, and saying the learning and the growth and the opportunity and the shifting of my mindset is the way that you can take any level of positive and then turn it around on itself. To me, I think that that's crucially important for everybody to take away, no matter what you're going through. And it doesn't say that it's easy or it was easy, but the idea behind it, this is life. And so many things are thrown our way. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, not so much what happens, but how we respond that makes the difference. And you had shouted out Steve Murray. I'm a massive fan of Steve. We've had him on the show. We actually shot his episode at the headquarters in Castle Rock for Real Trends.
Yep.
So big shout out to Steve Murray and Real Trends. It's incredible how small this world is and how small this industry is, even though it's huge. And surrounding ourselves with wonderful people and learning and sharing and guiding and growing is everything. And it sounds like you've always been a part of that and in tune to that. So let's take it to the next step. When we talk about life and or business, where does it go from there? You started to really see that amplification and growth in those tough times for most. Where are we at after 2016?
I begin to feel probably the same thing that many people felt, shift in the industry, shift in the models, what was being offered, what was available. Sure, I could defend against it, and I could have a conversation with an agent, and I could absolutely demonstrate my value proposition,
Sure.
and why you should come with me and not with anybody else. But in the end, the industry is going to do what it's going to do, and the industry was moving at a rapid pace.
Mm.
Um, I did lots of things to try and continue my career. I never thought that I would ever leave my former brokerage. I always thought I'd be there for life.
Oh,
But in the end, the way I saw the future and the opportunities
uh-huh.
was not the way that they saw it. And I didn't own the company, so I didn't get to make those decisions. And I just had to respect them and make the ones that were good for me and good for my family and good for my team. My mission statement is to inspire people, create opportunities, and support dreams. And when the alignment of where I was
Mhm.
didn't align with that mission, where there was, I couldn't honestly look an agent in the face and tell them that they were in the best place for my mission,
Mm.
then I knew that a change was necessary. So
Wow.
I began the process of investigating,
Okay.
and ultimately I, I I I Googled really simply.
Mhm.
I Googled. I read the Swanepoel report. I'm sorry, let me go back. I read the Swanepoel report, and there was a story in there that talked about brokered by EXP.
Aha. Okay.
And what I took away from that story was that you could have your own brand. You could create your own identity and your own brand and who you were and where your culture and all that stuff. But then you could utilize all of the marketing and the accounting and all of the back office support of a national organization. And
Wow.
I had heard previously of powered by ERA, so I was familiar with the powered by model.
Yep.
When I read this brokered by in the Swanepoel report, I was just really taken by it. And so I began investigating it. I flew all around the country. I met with lots of people and talked to people, people that were formerly with my old brand that had moved, or people with other companies, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But one day I just Googled it, and the only person that came up with the brokered by EXP model was Chuck Fazio in Arizona. So I
Yeah.
called. I mean, how do you talk about Titans? Like, how do you get on the phone and just randomly get a Google search and get one guy and happens to be one of the biggest names in EXP? So that's what happened. I reached out to him and I left a voicemail. It got kind of lost in a shuffle. So it took about 4 or 5 days before they called me back, which we laugh about today.
Wow.
And anyway, I began exploring that. And ultimately in August of 21, I gave my notice that I was going to leave my former brand. And that proceeded to land me in the Southern District of Indiana federal court for 2 years.
Oh no.
So I spent 2 years in that.
Yeah.
And again, you can only control you, right? I
Mhm.
don't get to control other people. It's their business model, their decisions. They get to make them. I get to make mine.
Yep.
I was making what I believe to be the best decision for myself, for my agents, for my family, etc.
Yeah.
I made that transition. I settled that about 18 months later in October, the very end of October. I joined EXP.
Okay.
November of 2022.
Mhm.
And in December of 2022, my daughter was murdered by a drunk driver. So we then stepped back out. We were removed from it. And finally, and there was, my team had transitioned. It was already existing. It was going on. Um, and then I had a conflict with an employee, which took some additional time for us to sort through that and come up with a resolution. So ultimately, my wife and I relanded it and started over in June of 2024. So just 3 months ago.
Wow.
We're excited. We're thrilled. And I have had, this is the way I explain it to people. I'm
Mhm.
54 years old.
Mhm.
I've had 51 amazing years and 3 really, really tough years.
Mhm.
But I choose, and I do recognize lots of the gifts that I have,
Mhm.
despite the challenges. And we're doing good. Like the best thing I can tell you is look out of the windshield and not the rearview mirror. Man, if you keep focusing on what's behind you,
Mhm.
like, see this picture right here?
Yep.
I've shot a YouTube video for years called The Morning Cup. My daughter made this when she was like 8 years old. And it's just like, I have this. I have all kinds of wonderful memories. I have lots of that. And I have an incredibly bright future in front of me. I'm aligned with an organization that supports my mission, supports who I am. And I won't go into the details, but I can assure you, for anybody confused, it is the highest of integrity organizations. I've lived it firsthand through my challenges, which we can't go into because unfortunately there are lawyers and other things that get involved.
Hey, I
But
understand.
it's safe for me to say that it is a high level and high integrity organization, as is my sponsor, the Fazios. People end up in your lives at the right time for the right reasons, and all challenges. There is a way through all challenges in life.
Wow. I mean, Jimmy, I don't even know where to start with this. I mean,
Let me tell you, I'll stop you so you don't, because
got it.
you don't know, and you're not supposed to know because no one's supposed to go through it. So just the only thing I would tell you and all of your listeners, because I'm not looking for pity or anything else. The only thing I would tell you or any of your listeners is, if you know somebody who's going through a really hard time, all you ever need to do is let them know you care. Done.
Wow.
That's it. So I can tell by your facial expression you do. And so don't it's my journey. I can't change it. So what I have to do is I have to live through it, and I have to, my daughter lived every day to the fullest, and I am not going to allow her legacy to be that somehow it destroyed my mom and dad or my brother or anything else. We're going to go on and live great lives and celebrate her,
Wow.
and keep doing what we do.
Jimmy, truly inspiring. I can't say that enough from the bottom of my heart. There's so many things that we can talk about and go through into life, but to put yourself in that position, obviously to be vulnerable enough to share something so intimate that you went through, but then obviously looking at it from a self perspective, and anybody out there who also has children, um, couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And, I take further perspective into love on the people that are in your life and in your world, and be present. Don't take time for granted, because time waits for no one and we don't know. And I think that anybody who is tuning into this right now, if that makes sense to you, you know who you are. You should be reaching out. You should be changing, making people priorities. I mean, if anything you take away from that, at bare minimum. And I know there's so much more that we can dive into that way, Jimmy. But again, I can't thank you enough for sharing that piece. I do want to take you back to Chuck for a moment. You and I in the green room, we're kind of chatting, and before we hit live record sort of scenario, and we're both big fans of Chuck and Angela. And I'm curious, when you were going down your journey and having such a legacy and history through Remax, and having a multitude of opportunities to make that change, was there anything that stood out to you that Chuck had said, or that you found in your research to really make you decide to go down that road with EXP? Anything that you can share that way? I'm just curious.
I can tell you exactly why Chuck became my sponsor. It wasn't a difficult thing for me. When I made the decision that I was going to make the change, all I wanted was somebody who wasn't going to stand in the way of my dreams. Because if I was going to start over, then I didn't do this to build another 240 agent brokerage. I believe that I have a unique set of skills and a unique ability. I'm optimistic through everything and anything. And I believe that I'm in a position to help and influence and motivate a lot of people into further beyond what their wildest expectations were. And Chuck was not in the way of those expectations, because
Wow.
if I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just going to say if I dream it, he's probably dreamt of something a little bit bigger, right?
That's
And
fair.
for me, that's a good thing because I don't want an artificial hurdle. I don't want to just because you think this can't be
Mhm.
X, Y, or Z, or E, X, and P. Just
Mhm.
because you don't think it could be that big doesn't mean that I don't think it could be that big. So the last thing I want is somebody who somehow compresses me and holds me back and slows me down. I want to ask you a question, get an answer, and get back on the phones and do what I do.
Wow.
And that's what Chuck is. If I call him 9 out of 10 times, he's going to answer the phone or shoot me a text back. I'm in a meeting. Give me 5 minutes.
Yep.
And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to know I had a reliable source, and that man will run through a brick wall if you need him to, and he's big enough to do it. So it's
He runs straight through that wall, Jimmy.
right. So it's a pot. I'm only 5'7" and a buck 70. So, having Big Chuck on your side is a good thing. No, but seriously, it was just, I don't want any limitations. I've never believed in living life with limitations. I just live life to its fullest, and I am going to get as much out of every day and as much out of my career and as much out of my family and friends as I possibly can, and hopefully give back to them more than what I'm getting from them. And that's how I live. And Chuck complemented that belief system incredibly well.
Wow. Huge. And, we're both big fans of Chuck. So big shout out, Chuck, if you're
Yeah.
tuning into this. And, always a pleasure to have those conversations. And again, Jimmy, I think that the important factor to that is somebody of your caliber and expertise who's been doing this to the level that you have, to the length that you have, that bears a lot of weight in decision making. And that's why I say, hey, what was Jimmy going through to end up going down that road to making that decision? Not every place is for every person. And I
Mm-mm.
think ultimately to do our own due diligence and go through our own experiences and come to our own conclusions is crucial. But at least what I would state for me personally, and the biggest shifts into adjustment into life have been the sums of parts of the people that were around. And I'm a huge fan of what EXP has done with aligning like minded individuals to share, to guide, to give, to prosper together. And this is not a closed door sort of policy. And everybody who's tuning into this, they know they've been in brokerages or offices where the best and the brightest, their doors are shut. It is not a collaborative and sort of nature where you can say, hey, I've got a question. I'm trying to do this. I'm experiencing this. There's no incentive, right? And not to say that they're all that way, but I feel that EXP was one of the first on a large scale to really just break down the walls and the barriers. It almost makes me think of what you did earlier on with your operation to say, hey, look, we're bringing it together. Let's collaborate. Let's grow. So there's some lines of connection there, Jimmy, which I love. So what is it? What's next? What's going on? And I want to know more about Clubhouse, and kind of what's going on there. I do see a book behind your shoulder. You are an author, so I'd love to talk about that too. So, but what's kind of down the road after this?
So first off, I want to tell you that the the 33 years that I spent at my former brand, I encountered some of the greatest broker owners and greatest relationships. And those relationships were built on exactly what you said. It was sharing.
Mhm.
Amy Somerville, who worked there as well, she led a meeting called 501. And honestly, it was something that I just couldn't get enough of because it was just a collaborative. It was an opportunity for you to roll up your sleeves, share, and give. So you can, I think that all organizations have the ability to do it. I certainly experienced it, and I'm continuing to experience it now. So,
Mm.
what's next? Well, I've been up and running on my own. We started June 1st.
Okay.
I've got roughly I've got 60. Well, we just signed another brokerage on Monday, so we're probably now more like 70 agents.
Oh wow.
I am having conversations with
Mm.
30-year relationships in the industry, people that I've known, and
Mm.
sharing with them the opportunity and inviting them to a discussion. I don't like selling anybody anything, because if I sell it to you, then I've got to sell you on staying. But if
Mm.
I introduce you to it and it makes sense to you, then you've made the decision. And if you make the decision, then you will defend it for yourself as to why you stay.
Powerful.
So I like to take people down a path of exploring it, sharing why I did it, what's working for me. And so that's what I do every day, is I mentor, train,
Mm.
grow our agents. And then I'm talking to other brokers in the industry within my state, within the continental United States, and just kind of sharing agents, brokers, et cetera, people that I've had relationships over the years that want to talk. Some people have no interest in exploring. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like you said, one seat, it doesn't fit everyone's tush. So that's why we have a lot of different seats and a lot of different opportunities. But
Wow.
yeah, this was a good move. And as far as I'm doing that under the brand of Clubhouse RE. So we formed a mega team,
Mhm.
and Post and Beam out of Boston
Okay.
created the design and the logos and all of the marketing pieces behind it, which
Wow.
I just absolutely love.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's been a great process to go through and launch a brand. And because you essentially get the independence of marketing with the back end support. So the two are work really well, because I don't have to do everything. I can do the parts that I really, really enjoy doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's been fun. I think um, you know, I've been told that 250 agents, in terms when you get to 250, you'll
Okay.
have enough people that are interested in that side of the business, right, that
Mhm.
want to grow. And so then your business will kind of grow on its own.
Mm.
um, I don't know, because I'm not quite there,
Mm.
but I will. So let's just say my immediate goal is 500 people. That way we're safe to make sure that if 250 doesn't work, 500 will.
Oh, Jimmy, I love that. And again, the short period of time for anybody who's tuning into this, it is August 27th, 2024. So only a few months to get to that time frame. And again, there's no doubt in my mind the 500 is going to come and then some. But I love the fact that you're taking it from a communal standpoint and really bringing that to reality into the individuals that you respect, that you want to share and showcase, teach, mentor, and collaborate with. I think that that's a huge standpoint, when it comes down to that. So, Jimmy, I got to ask you this, because a lot of the viewers, they tune in to Real Estate Titans because they want a few thoughts or nuggets that they can maybe take and apply or reflect on, whether it's personal or professional. Somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt several times. So if you could go back in your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you added or implemented that you really saw change, you saw positive momentum, movement of the needle, any piece of advice that you give anybody tuning in from your perspective, what would that look like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm blessed right now. My 25-year-old kid just got his real estate license, or he's had it actually, but he's just implementing. He graduated college and now he's actually practicing real estate.
Wow. Love
And so why I say I'm blessed is that the opportunity now presents for me to mentor and train somebody from the ground up.
it. Mm.
So typically you come into someone's life at a period of time and you get to touch that life and be involved in it for the
Mhm.
period of time that they allow you in there. Well, my kid doesn't really have much of a choice. Like, he's kind of stuck with me, right? Someday he's got to change my diapers and all the other stuff that goes along with having a dad. So
That's right.
it's been fun because he and I have developed a strategy. We've built out how to get business today,
Mm.
how to work on those opportunities that are 6 months out, and then how to work on the long term so we can get off the hamster wheel, right? So
Wow.
we have this plan that we work and we talk all the time, and I absolutely love it because I get to share 35 years.
Mm.
I used to be one of the top agents in my city.
Yeah.
I'm never number one, but I was in the top 5 in my city. So it wasn't a bad gig for a 2-time community college dropout. By the way, I did go to community college a second time
Hey.
for culinary school in 2008 when the world went to hell in a handbasket and I was broke and the bank didn't give me my loan and all that stuff.
Get out of here.
Culinary school to clear my head so that I could wake up in the morning and go back to work with a smile. So
Wow.
that was my solution. So
I
I call
want to
myself,
jump in on that though. I don't want you to jump away from that. So why culinary school? I mean, have you always had a passion for food, cuisine? I mean, are you a foodie? What was the drive there in that time frame?
so so here's the reality of food for me is it gives me an opportunity. It's like a love language for me, right?
Mhm.
I make meals for the people that I care about.
Yeah.
Like we've had a Sunday dinner that has every Sunday, it is
Mhm.
miscellaneous families. We
Mhm.
could have 6 people show up, we could have 50 people show up on Sundays, but we've done it for 15 straight years.
I love that.
Through that relationship, there was an elderly man that I became his caregiver, his power of attorney, his medical power of attorney. I
Wow.
took care of him. We did everything for him until his passing.
Wow.
He became like a grandfather,
Mhm.
pseudo grandfather in our family, and
Mhm.
so the relationships. Cooking to me is it's an expression. It's
Mhm.
my artistic expression.
Yeah.
I'm a real strict, disciplined, hardworking, hard charging when it comes to the office. Like if I
Sure.
sit down and say I'm going to do 50 calls and I'm not leaving my office until I've talked to 50 people, then I'm going to do 50 calls.
Love it.
Food is totally art. So I don't bake because baking is science and I'm not scientific.
There you go.
Cooking is art. And so
Yeah.
I make things. So we like tomorrow, today's Tuesday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, is our team dinner. So we have
Okay.
a team dinner once a month in the office. We have a full kitchen in here. And
Wow.
we break bread and I cook it all. And we're having stuffed pork loin and with sweet potatoes and all kinds of other stuff. But at any
Oh my
event,
gosh.
we do that as a part of our culture. It's just who we are, and all the agents are invited, their families are invited, the affiliates are invited, and it's anybody in the real estate industry can come in and have a meal and meet people. And it's not a quote unquote recruiting. That's not
Mhm.
what we're doing.
Sure.
I probably won't even have a discussion of real estate. It'll just be simply small talk and enjoying people's company over a
Mhm.
meal that I put my love and my heart and soul into. And hopefully it's good. And if it's not, that's why God made Domino's.
There you go. Oh, well said. And again, I love the fact that you're breaking bread and setting the table, if you will, for relationships. And it's not nothing to do with the recruiting side or anything along those lines, bringing like-minded individuals and really kind of set up that stage. I did see a post that you put up the other day. I forgot if it was a reel, and I could smell it through my phone.
Oh, the
It was
meatballs.
Oh, it smelled it. I could smell it, taste it. I mean, I saw this giant pot of sauce and I saw the bread and I thought, that's a place I want to go. Yeah, and wanted to ask because I love food. I'm a foodie. I mean, I will travel to eat. It's kind of bizarre. People are like, why would you drive an hour to have lunch? I literally will go and travel. And so anywhere that I go, if I'm speaking on stages or if I'm, giving presentations to organizations, I plan my trips with food around and in mind. And I don't care if it's a hole in the wall or if it's a Michelin star sort of scenario, I eat it all. And I think that I haven't been versed or practiced enough to be a chef or a cook. I try on the grill. I'm actually better at, the staples like pancakes. That's kind of my household sort of scenario. And I love doing that with my kids. But at the end of the day, I think that there's so much to learn when you're in people's environments and when you're trying new things and you're experiencing new conversations and building real relationships with the fact that you've done the family scenario for 15 years, massive. That's notes to take away for any producer or professional that's tuning in now. If you have any passions around food or gatherings of people, think it upon yourself to bring that, be that community to bring all those individuals to the table. You have no idea where those relationships are going to come from and go and who you're going to touch. And hey, if that's something that you love, you're going to do it regardless of business. And what's funny to me, and take it away if that's the case, Jimmy, when you do things that you're passionate about and you bring like-minded individuals together, things happen when it comes to business. It just kind of works itself out in some form or fashion because we get to know, like, and trust one another. And if there is an opportunity to do something, then hey, you were there the whole time. I think it's beautiful. I love it. Absolutely love that.
You know, I do my darndest to live my life without regrets. And what you're going to regret the most is what you didn't do, not what you did. So it's, you know, I challenge myself. I try to every year pose a big challenge. That's you alluded to this.
Oh yeah.
Two-time community college dropout, and I wrote a freaking book.
There we go.
Here's the moral of the story. If Jimmy Dulin can write a book, it's only 145 pages. You can see you can buy it on Amazon. It's $14.95.
Love it.
Well, at least it used to be. I don't know with inflation what the heck it might be now. It may be.
I think it's $14.99. I checked. I think the paperback is, and I'll be dropping that into my my cart on Amazon here as soon as we wrap this up. There's no doubt. But what was the overall thought? You know, kind of going through. I want to take you back where we kind of left off before I interrupted the thought process. You talked about food and culinary, and I had to do it. You're with your son, you know, he's in it, short-term, midterm, long-term, really starting from the ground up. So we're looking at the advisory piece portion, anything along those lines that comes to mind that anybody can take away.
It's been, the other day he said to me, and this is maybe 60 days ago, because he's been full-time practicing in Jacksonville, Florida for your referrals, James Dulin.
Love it. Love it.
At any event, he's been practicing since March or April in Jacksonville. And our plan is real simple. In the short term, he goes to expireds. He does 3 to 5 expireds 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He works a part-time job Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 o'clock.
Okay.
The rest of his time, everyone he comes in contact with, so that's his short term is expired. Those are go in, knock on the door, and potentially get an opportunity right now today. And that has happened to him. And he's listed homes, he's sold homes, and they are the ones where you're at the right time, at the right place. You said the right thing and got an opportunity.
Sure.
Then he has his sphere of influence, which is his midterm. And those are the people that he knows. He's built relationships. They know, like him, trust him. Wow. So he communicates with them in a organized and respectful manner. And then the long-term plan is, I told him to pick a neighborhood with 500 homes that had as much of a turnover, north of 10% turnover per year. In the days when I did it, we were looking for 20%, but I don't think that's so likely anymore. Wow. And you want no real estate company to have more than 10% market share of the turnover, and no individual agent to have greater than 5% market share. Oof. And all you do is you find that neighborhood. It's 500 dwellings is what I told him to get. The one he found is 642. No gates on the neighborhood. So it's not private or anything along those lines. And he makes a simple flyer, and we bought plastic bags at Amazon, and he just puts a 1-page. And what we tell people is they can get all their real estate information without getting spammed, because this is paper. No one's going to track you. No one's going to follow you, and no one's going to harass you. And he hangs it. He doesn't knock on any doors. He doesn't bother anyone. He hangs it on mailboxes. On some houses and other houses, it's the doorknob. Wow. But everyone he comes in contact with there, and everyone he comes in contact with his sphere of influence, he writes a handwritten note and just reiterates what their conversation. Like, there's one lady who's been in the neighborhood since the day it was developed, first time original owner. And so he wrote in there, you know, since you know everybody, if you had a friend that wanted to move to this neighborhood, wouldn't you like for them to get the kind of service that I would provide? And he sends them a note, and it's just, everybody gets a note. On average, he sends out about 10 notes a day, 10, maybe 12 notes a day. And it's just everyone he comes in contact. So that's our plan. It's working for him. He's got a pipeline. He has no idea he will be on your show someday.
Yeah.
He has no idea at 24 years old how much he's accomplished because he just looks at it and says, I don't know everything yet. And I'm like, you never will.
Wow.
But just keep doing what you're doing because the experiences that you are having will lead you to be better at what you do because you understand the challenges, because you put yourself in places where you've had to face those challenges.
Mm. Jimmy, when you mentioned that and you took the words right out of my mouth, sounds like a future Titan following in his father's footsteps. And also something came to mind as you were laying down the foundation for an incredible recipe. You said you were not a baker. You just laid the foundation through science on short-term, midterm, long-term. I would encourage everybody who is looking to get involved or already is involved, if they're not implementing these steps, listen to what Jimmy said. That is the fact, the truth. So many people are looking for the easy button. So many people are looking for the shiny object, the next best thing, and ultimately getting down to the business, the work works. And I love the fact that you are literally doing this with your son. I'm sure he knows how lucky he is, when it comes to that, because so many people would love to have that type of, tutelage, education, and really guidance. And that's what's great about where you're at too, Jimmy, because I know that even though he is your son, you're guiding so many other people, you're helping so many other lives, and it's just inspiring. Absolutely incredible stuff.
Well, the neat thing was, so when he likes what I say, I'm dad or I'm mentor. When he doesn't like it, I'm dad. And so I always know which way things are going. But I'll give you a great example.
Yeah, yeah.
He called me. I started to tell you this earlier. He called me one day and he said, I was like, hey, have you gotten your flyers out? Have you gotten your flyers out? And he's like, no, I haven't. He goes, Dad, you don't understand. I hate that.
Oh.
And I said, oh, okay. So you hate it. And he said, yeah. He goes, you just have no idea how much I hate it. And I said, well, let me tell you how much I care.
Mm.
And he says, what do you mean? I said, I don't care that you hate it. You asked me to mentor and train you to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I know one way that's bulletproof. And that's the way that I did it. That's how I went from being 21 years old and starting in real estate to being one of the top agents in my city was
Mm-hmm.
this way. I had a short-term plan. This
Yep.
is what fed me that month, right? This is
Mm.
what created an opportunity for me to eat. I had a midterm plan, which was what gave me long-term longevity. And then I had a long-term plan, which has got me off the hamster wheel because I knew I had business coming in and I wouldn't have to knock as many doors because now I had built relationships that would lead to business. So
Mm.
the only thing I can do is teach you what I know. And if it's not what you want, then you need to fire me and you need to hire a new coach.
Wow.
And it's not because I don't love you and it's not because I don't want to train you and I don't want to help you. I just don't want to pretend to train you on something I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
know how to build a sustainable business that will take care of you and your family.
Mm.
Your mother, your sister, yourself grew up in a beautiful home, took great vacations, lived a beautiful life with a family full of love
Mm.
based on what financially dad was able to provide by this plan.
Yeah.
And I'm giving it to you for free, kid. And we haven't had to talk about it since.
Oh, I love that. And I would argue that, again, the complete opposite. You were saying, hey, it's not because of this, this, and this. I would say it is because of those things that you care and you love and you want to see success, that you're being honest and forthright into what is going to be the highest and best use of time. Unfortunately, there's so many coaches, mentors, trainers. I'm using air quotes.
Yeah.
If you're not watching this and you're listening to this, because at the end of the day, sometimes they want to tell you what you want to hear and not what you need to hear. And I think sometimes we all need a kick in the pants and to say, hey, let's get going, let's get moving because we've got goals, we've got lives to live. And, our friend Chuck would always say, stop living casually, stop living casual lives. And I think that that's crucial, important to take away for everybody else who's tuning into this. Jimmy, if somebody at this point has connected with you, as I have, I think you're incredible, my friend.
Oh,
So this
thank
is
you.
great. This is an incredible conversation, and again, very meaningful to me. And I know if it translates to me, it does to the audience. But if anybody out there is watching this or listening to this, what's the best way for them to connect with you directly, to get a hold of you, to learn more? Where would you want to direct them?
Anywhere but email. I can't stand email. Like I said before, I'm 54 years old and I just despise email. I feel like it's concrete blocks around your ankle. Uh,
Love it.
so I would say you can message me if you want on Facebook. It's Jimmy Dulin. It'll be that logo is my Facebook.
Love it.
So you can do Jimmy Dulin on there. I'm on Instagram at real estate, or no, my Twitter's at real estate Jimmy, and on Instagram it's Jimmy Dulin and the number two.
Mhm.
Um, and quite frankly, you could text or call me 317-281-6679.
Wow.
Um, I'm happy to take calls. I'm happy.
Mm.
We have people visit this office and come see what we're doing, because it's been an amazing journey,
Mm.
and it's actually lately for this last 60, 90 days, it's been the theme around here is we're putting the band back together.
Wow.
And so everybody is um beyond excited about what we're doing, and not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it.
Mhm.
Because our process includes each and every person. So it's not a person wins and everybody else watches. It's everybody's going to win and have an amazing journey and an amazing opportunity. So
Wow.
I love the position I'm in. I love the opportunity to pour into others. My wife and I we got to experience during our darkest days in December, like I told you, we
Mhm.
got to experience what it means to pour into other people, because then they poured into us, and thousands of people from around the world visited and came to our home and came
Mhm.
to our office to share in our daughter's celebration. So
Mhm.
we know that doing the right thing and doing it over a sustained period of time, it all comes back. It,
Wow.
it it really does. So we've been touched. We've been very fortunate,
Mm.
and we're going to keep doing the best we can, and we're gonna have as much fun as we can along the way.
Mm.
We're going to enjoy the people that we do it with, or we're not going to do it with them, because it's just that simple. There's no reason to not get along. You and I had some scheduling conflicts, and I told you it didn't matter. It's fine whenever you're ready or whenever the time works out. And that's just
Mhm.
the way I'm going to live.
Mm.
It's me, I'm just going to be me, and that's it.
Wow. Jimmy, words to live by, massive advice. Again, love the story, the journey, and everything that you have to share. I would encourage everybody to reach out to this man, send him DM, send him love, call him. He literally gave his number. Be kind. He'll get back to you as soon as he can. Jimmy, I'm assuming you got a million things going on, as anybody to your caliber and situation. So, but reach out. He's here. And again, learn more. I think that's an important thing. Align yourself with people that connect and stand out to you. I can't stress that enough. Jimmy, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we wrap this one up today?
I'll tag you in our food post so that you can see.
Do
No,
that. Do that. Please do.
I will be happy to tag you in some of those. I would say that I decided a long, long time ago, for those that want to be successful in real estate, that they need to view it as a lifestyle and not a job. And what I mean by that is it just needs you need to set boundaries, but you also need to incorporate it into what you do and what you love. If you put yourself in that position, I think there's good things in front of you. So I think that for the people who are willing to dig in, I am so excited for what I believe are some challenging years in front of us in real estate. We're already 40% off 2 years ago.
Sure.
I don't think that we're likely to see much change. And I think that creates opportunity for the people who are willing to go against the crowd and go the other direction.
Mm. I love it. And again, going in the other direction with somebody like you, Jimmy, doesn't seem like a bad thing. So I can at least vouch for that through our conversation here. But hey, figure it out for yourself. If you like this, reach out to this man. I can't stress enough. And Jimmy, thank you so much for your time today, your story, and your journey. It was an honor, my friend. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. You too.
And everybody out there, as always, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, comment, get engaged, get involved here. We can't thank you enough for that. I do have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business with leading edge digital marketing, visit lionboltmedia.com for more information. We're live here on Real Estate Titans every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. Catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.